Welcome back. Welcome to the channel. After a very long time, today we're going to speak about Chelsea and we'll speak about Kaiser Chiefs. There's not been a lot of football as far as Kaiser Chiefs is concerned. We were in a very long break. I think the next game is going to be on the 19th of March. So, it's been quiet. But there's a lot that has been said about Kaiser Chiefs, as much as there's a lot that has been said about Chelsea. The first thing we'll need to speak about is Chelsea. Chelsea and the war in Russia and Ukraine. And we know that Chelsea is the only club that is, feeling the repercussions of the war, that is mostly affected by the war, by the virtue of the owner of the club being said to be close to the Russian president, Mr. Vladimir Putin. And so Mr. Roman Abramovich has been stripped of the ownership of the club. There are sanctions against Chelsea. So there's a lot of things that are disturbing football in Stamford Bridge and Cobham. And you can see him, and it looks like people will want to see the end of Chelsea. But it is what it is. We are casualties of the war. The players are casualties of the war. The club staff are casualties of that war. And as us as fans as well, we are feeling the repercussions of the war. So we know that anyway, we know that Mr. Roman Abramovich has always been a target to the British government. If you follow football, if you follow Chelsea, especially Chelsea, you would know that he's been banned from UK and been chasing him. They've been chasing him. And as we know, Chelsea is the only club, that we know in the world that has actually been banned from signing players by FIFA. And other teams break a lot of rules. But when it comes to Chelsea, it looks like the laws have been very strict. Right now, the sanctions are that Roman has been taken, off as the owner of the club. The club is under the British government. So we are a club that belongs to the Queen, as it is right now. And Chelsea can sign players, can renew contracts, and the club can sell tickets, can sell the jerseys. There's limit in the travel spending, and it's bad. But there was a time where they said the club cannot be sold because the sale of the club has been halted. But right now, the sale of the club is back on, and it is officially headed by the British government. So the club is being sold, and apparently there's Saudi Arabia oil people that want to buy the club. There's others from America that want to buy the club. But all in all, it is the end of Chelsea as we know it. To be honest, the way I feel like it's the end of Chelsea as we know it. The Chelsea of Solomon Kalou, the Chelsea of Didier Drogba, the Chelsea of Essien, the Chelsea of Eduardo Mendy. That's the end of that Chelsea. The Chelsea of Makelele, of N'Golo Kante, the Chelsea of Balak, Kai Havertz, and many of the players that we know of Chelsea. I think that's the end of Chelsea. That's the end of that Chelsea. Chelsea of Lampard, Joe Cole, Ashley Cole, John Terry. We won't see that Chelsea of Mourinho, of Di Matteo, Sarri, Thomas Tuchel. Chelsea has brought a lot of people, a lot of personalities into the world of football that are so admirable. And I don't think we'll ever go back to that era. Even if there's new owners, I don't think we'll ever go back to that era. But I'm glad, the club has a very strong leadership right now of Peter Cech, the leadership of Thomas Tuchel. I think they are holding the club intact. And the players understand the situation. But as for me, here's my view on this whole thing, is that the British government is very hypocritical. The British government has always been hypocritical. It is known, in fact, it's a known fact that as far as colonization is concerned, the British are the most colonizing country in the world. And the West are also very hypocritical because they still buy stuff from Russia, still buy oil, they still buy a lot of things, still in business with Russia. And they see the need to ban Chelsea and to make a statement with that and sponsors pulling out and stuff like that. I think it's just hypocrisy. As personal, I'm not even phased, I'm not even affected. I don't even care what's happening in Russia and Ukraine. We have many problems in Africa as Africans. If Europeans are failing to sort out their problems, it's their problem. And the next thing that we need to speak about, yeah, not to sound so insensitive, but I really don't care of what is happening in Russia. There's a lot that is happening in Africa. There's a lot that is happening in South Africa that I am concerned about as far as politics is concerned. Speaking about another topic, Kaizer Chiefs, the comments that were made by Manqoba Mnqithi, and a lot of Sundowns fans, a lot of talk that is about Kaizer Chiefs. And there was Mamelodi Sundowns was about to play, was going to play Al Ahly. So the game was between Mamelodi Sundowns and Al Ahly. But the build up to the game was all about Kaizer Chiefs. The post commentary about the game, all about Kaizer Chiefs. But Kaizer Chiefs has nothing to do with that match. And simply because Kaizer Chiefs decided to host Al Ahly in Naturena, because Al Ahly approached Kaizer Chiefs, actually it's Pito who recommended that let's approach Kaizer Chiefs, because they have proper facilities, we can train well, and we can prepare ourselves for the game. So Kaizer Chiefs allowed it and accepted it, and that was it. And I see nothing wrong with that. But I feel like everyone feels like the need to ride on the Kaizer Chiefs horse is what will make them relevant. Pito used to do it himself. Manqoba does it most of the time. You'll find Benny, you'll find really release official statements about Kaizer Chiefs when Kaizer Chiefs was literally not involved in anything. You have Skukune that once, the coach of Skukune once said something so bizarre about Kaizer Chiefs and COVID-19 and stuff like that. And you wonder, why aren't these people minding their own business? Even journalists and fans of Orlando Pirates and Mamelodi Sundowns feel like when we speak about Kaizer Chiefs, that's the most relevant thing in the country right now. I think Chiefs will always be bigger at club, in terms of trophies, even outside trophies. The way the club is conducting itself, the way the club is conducting its business, the way the brand is in itself, the support base that it enjoys, it will always be a bigger team. And it will always attract so much unnecessary talks, especially from Manqoba. I think, let me just say a few things. This is what Manqoba says. He says after the game, what makes, after they won against Al Ahly, this is what he feels there's a need to say this. He says, what makes it even sweeter for me is between a collaboration. During the bubble, you couldn't use the Chiefs changing room when playing at the FNB Stadium. That was spiteful because we nearly had the same scenario last season, but we don't talk about these things because we are experienced and patriotic. Says we don't talk about these things, but it's actually speaking about it. And then it says Wydad wanted to train at our facilities when they were going to play Chiefs last year, and we refused the request, and blah blah blah. There's a lot of things, and it speaks about patriotism, that Kaizer Chiefs is not patriotic because they refused the request because they want to be patriotic. Wydad is going to play Kaizer Chiefs and they don't want to host Wydad. I think, well, man, it's so unfortunate coming from a guy, Manqoba. I think it's very unprofessional. I think is riding on Kaizer Chiefs unnecessary. I think is being stupid, to be honest. And for me, this is my analysis. There are reasons why they didn't, Mamelodi Sundowns didn't appoint Manqoba as the head coach and leave other people out. They felt the need to bring in, to make Rulani, to put Rulani in that team for football purposes, and Oprah Steve Kompela for leadership purposes. Because there's a lot of stuff that Manqoba says that I find so unfortunate, so way out of the line. I think it says a lot about his leadership, but the comments were really, really needless, and nobody asked Sundowns to refuse to host Wydad Casablanca. We went to Morocco, were hosted by Raja Casablanca, the main opponent of Wydad in that country. No one asked Sundowns to refuse it. Second thing is that Mamelodi Sundowns and other teams are our direct opponents in PSL. Unlike Al Ahly, it's not our direct opponents. We can host any other team from outside. They are not our direct opponents. But direct opponents, that is understandable. The second thing is that, I don't know. Yeah. The other thing is that bio-bubble. Remember that when why was there bio-bubble in the first place? It's because of COVID-19. and there was an unknown virus. There were issues around social distancing. There were strict rules to try and finish the league and all other competitions. That is why we had bio-bubble. There were COVID-19 issues. That is why the mixing up of players, the mixing up of staff, the mixing up of facilities was, part of the whole rules and regulations thing. It was not because we like it. That is why teams could not share dressing rooms, could not, swap facilities and all that, because we didn't know COVID-19 at that time, and it was a very, very, very scary thing, and everyone was in a panic mode, and you can't compare bio-bubble and this situation. You really can't compare bio-bubble and this situation. And another thing is that these tactics of patriotism, that you must not host this, you must host this, there must not be what defines football. I've always said this, that if you go in other countries in Africa, you find they place you in bad conditions and all that in order to win a game. That is not what is supposed to do. That is supposed to happen. That's not what's supposed to be part of the game. What should define the game should be what happens on the pitch, the tactics, the technical plan, the execution of the players on that day. Win the matches on the pitch, not some funny tactics. That shouldn't define football. Yes, it's done elsewhere, but doesn't mean we should do it in South Africa. And the last thing I need to say is that they say it's patriotism. I think theirs is a petty, patriotism. Ours, in terms of Kaizer Chiefs as a big brand, is a progressive internationalist, especially continental solidarity. We are not enemies with Al Ahly. We are not enemies with other teams around all over Africa. That's actually stupid to want to call Kaizer Chiefs into some narrow patriotism. That when other teams are coming in, let's not give them accommodation. Let's not give them this and this and this and this and this. That's actually stupid. There are relations to be built. There are partnerships to be built. And if we do have facilities and they're not tied up, Kaizer Chiefs should actually make those facilities available. Otherwise, man, let me hear what you think about the whole thing. And if you have not subscribed, let us subscribe to the channel. And those that have subscribed and are commenting, thank you very much. Otherwise, from me, Dibalen Football Channel, Kaizer Chiefs Football Channel, football from the fans' perspective. Love and peace.